Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let us chant one round of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra with Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome. Today's Srimad Bhagavatam for all session. Let's recite Bhagavad Gita, verse 933. So, does anyone need to go first? We will just go in order. Achitpriya Mataji. Achintadev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please recite, Prabhuji. Kim punar brahmana punya
Kim punar brahmana punya
bhakta rajarshayas
bhakta rajarshayas tatha
anityam asukham lokam
anityam asukham lokam
imam prapya bhajasva mam.
imam prapya bhajasvamam. Translation: How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Aditi Lata Mataji and Arunita. Sonia Mataji. Yeah, we'll come back. Rasapriya.
Brahmana Punya Kaptara Tulsayasvita Anatyamasukam Imam Prapya Bhajasvaman. How much more this is so of righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me.
Yeah. So Sonia Mataji, you're ready?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, then with pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajasayastatha anityam asukam lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Translation. How much more this is so of righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Achyut Priya Mataji, you're ready?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Kim Brahmana Punya Bhakta Rajasayastata Anityam Asukam Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. Translation prepared by Srivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Aditi Lata Mataji and Arunita. Okay, I'll recite and then meanwhile they can join. Bhagavad Gita 9:33. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarshayas anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Aditi Lata Mataji, go ahead. Arunita.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Kim punar brahmana punya bhaktaras rajasyas tatha anityam ashukam lokam emam prapya bhajasvamam. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Arunita is not available.
No problem. So let's begin Srimad Bhagavatam. Madhava, you're going to recite? You're not able to. Oh. Rajarshayas tatha anityam
asukam lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. How much more so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me.
Yes, you can directly speak. Krishna Shish.
Kim Brahmana Punya Tarajarshayasatha Nityam Asukam Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me.
Arunita.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Kim punah brahmana punya bhakta rajasya anantyam anityam akulam yalokam imam prapya
asukam lokam.
asukam lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Hare Krishna.
Translation.
How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary and miserable world, engage in loving service to me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Anyone else? No. So let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8. Oh, Suvarnangi Mataji. Yes, you want to recite? Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat pranam for Srila Prabhupada.
And Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Kim punar brahmanaha punya bhakta raja rishaya tatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya vajasvamam. Translation: how much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in the loving service unto me. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
And the others are not available, Mataji.
No problem. Sure. So let's do Srimad Bhagavatam now. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 24. We are reading about Matsya Bhagavan. We didn't read yesterday, so we got a gap in between. Let's see what's going on. So, after Satyavrat Maharaj offered prayers, well, we saw that already. So this Satyavrat Maharaj, as per the, so Matsya Bhagavan told him that on the 7th day from now, or in 7 days, there's going to be pralaya, and during that time, that means all the lower, middle, and upper planetary systems are going to be like Bhur Bhuva Swaha planets will be inundated in the Garbhodaka ocean. So I will come in the form of a gigantic fish. First of all, there will be a boat, a big boat. You should get all the Saptarishis, all the seeds, and all the medicinal herbs, all types of herbs, and all types of living entities onto that boat. So, meanwhile, what did this king do? He sat down and then after saying this, Matsya Bhagavan said, you should tie, I will also appear there as Matsya in my form, and I will have you should tie this boat to my horn with Vasuki. And then throughout the night of Brahma, that means as long as Brahma is sleeping, I will be taking you around on this ocean, on this water of devastation. So saying this, Matsya Bhagavan disappeared after saying this. So now Satyavrata Maharaj is waiting for that time. Meanwhile, he sat on Kusha grass meditating on Matsya Bhagavan. And then that time appeared. All of a sudden, there was devastation and everything was inundated. The water started overflowing from the ocean, started overflowing onto the land, and all the land got covered by water. And yes, there was a boat, a huge boat. And he remembered the instructions of Matsya Bhagavan, and immediately he brought all the living entities, seeds and herbs onto that boat. He himself got onto the boat. The Saptarishis were there. And then they told him, my dear king, don't become bewildered. The Lord will protect us, right? Be confident that the Lord is going to protect us. And at that time, Matsya Bhagavan also appeared. And Vasuki was also there. So as per instruction, this king tied this boat to the horn of Matsya Bhagavan, and then he started offering prayers to Matsya Bhagwan, isn't it? So we are in 47. So let's see. The king said, see, following 45 is following the instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the king anchored the boat to the fish's horn using the serpent Vasuki as a rope. Thus, being satisfied, he began offering prayers to the Lord. So this is what the king is saying. By the grace of the Lord, those who have lost their self-knowledge since time immemorial and who, because of this ignorance, are involved in a material conditional life full of miseries, obtain the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. I accept that Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Spiritual Master. So that's what we read. We read the first prayer of Satyavrat Maharaj. He said that since time immemorial, that means there's no beginning, since beginningless. The living entities in this world are in forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. So you cannot trace back since when these living entities are in this condition. You cannot trace back. You cannot tell any time since when they are actually in this condition. And covered by ignorance. What is that ignorance? Forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord, forgetfulness of our position as servants of the Supreme Lord. And because of this, so what did we discuss? That first of all, there is avidya, and because of avidya, we are covered by the material energy. The material energy makes us forget that we are spirit souls and makes us think. So first step is, by the power of material energy, we forget that we are spirit souls. We are even spirit souls. So first beginning is not having paratattva jnanam, not having any clue of the absolute truth. Because of this, Maya covers, and then by Maya's influence, we forget that we are spirit souls. And then Maya, after this, she gives us material bodies, gross and subtle bodies. And once we get these gross and subtle bodies, we start identifying ourselves with these bodies. So first we had forgotten that we are spirit souls. Then by Maya's power, we get this material body, gross and subtle body. We start identifying ourselves with the body, and then we enter into dualities. This is my friend, this is my enemy, like that. This is happiness, this is distress. I like this, I hate this, right? This is dear and this is, I'm averse to this, like this, dualities. And because of this, there is fear. And everyone, all conditioned souls are living in constant fear. So this is the conditional life of a living entity who is forgetful of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his life will be full of miseries, struggle. But such a soul who is always living in miseries, he, by the Lord's mercy, actually by chance it is said, right? By chance. Because why? This is also important. By chance. So he gets the chance. He gets the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. So again, chance means, is it by fortune? Is it by luck? Or is it prearranged? So this we understand, this is by the mercy of a devotee, right? A devotee will somehow or other, he gives his mercy by his own free will to this suffering soul. In what way? He will give his association and he will also give mercy. And now this, so there is Vaimukyam and Samukyam. Vaimukyam means turning away from the Supreme Lord. Samukyam means again turning towards the Supreme Lord. So the living entity who has turned away from the Supreme Lord, by the association of a devotee, he turns again to the Supreme Lord. And then he will start hearing about the Supreme Lord. He will be building his Shraddha, and then he'll start his devotional service. And once he begins his devotional service, then Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. That is why it is said, Guru Krishna kripaya pai bhakti lata bij. Right? By the mercy of Guru and by the mercy of Krishna, one gets the seed of devotional service. Like that. And then so all this is happening. Originally, the situation is we are suffering in material existence. But by the Lord's mercy, how is the Lord's mercy coming? Not directly. The Lord shows mercy by sending his devotees to this material world. But not that he's sending this devotee to this particular person, you should deliver this, not like that. He sends for all the living entities, and this devotee chooses whom he wants to give mercy. And when a devotee wants to give mercy, then the Lord's mercy will follow the devotee's mercy. But the devotees coming to this world is the Lord's mercy only, because the Lord has compassion for all the suffering souls, so he sends his devotees, and then he also gives us the scriptures. So that's what we discussed. So Satyavrat Maharaj is saying, by the grace of the Lord, right? People like us, all the conditioned souls who lost their self-knowledge and who are suffering in this world, by the Lord's grace, now we get a chance to meet the Lord's devotee. And then when we meet a Lord's devotee, now once again we are able to remember our position as his servants, and we begin devotional service, and we become happy once again. We become happy. So to that Supreme Lord who is so merciful, he is the Supreme Spiritual Master. I accept that Supreme Lord as my spiritual master. So next, 47. Jano budhoyam nija karma bandhanah sukheච්ඡया karma samihate sukham yat sevayatam vidhunotya sanmatim granthim sa bhindyad dhridayam sa no guruhu. I sent, who's supposed to read? Let me check.
Mataji, me and Surit are supposed to read. Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Surit?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation.
In hopes of becoming happy in this material world, the foolish conditioned soul performs fruitive activities that result only in suffering, but by rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from such false desires from happiness. May my Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In hopes of becoming happy in this material world, the foolish conditioned soul performs fruitive activities that result only in suffering. Yes. So again, now we are seeing what is the position of this soul who is forgetful, or let's say not, who does not have his self-knowledge, or who does not have the knowledge of the Supreme, and who has forgotten that he is a spirit soul, and who's thinking that he is this body, and he's engaging in material activities. What is his consciousness? His consciousness is, because he forgot that he's a spirit soul, now he tries to become happy by doing material activities. The other day we discussed, right, that the goal of everyone is to become happy. Only we don't know how to become happy. So in the conditioned state, we try to become happy through material activities. We try to become happy in this material world. We are looking for happiness in this material world. So this is called fruitive activity. So we do something hoping that by this activity, I will get something which will make me happy. This is called fruitive activity or karma. So here, Satyavrat Maharaj is saying, in hopes of becoming happy in this material world, but this type of mentality is foolish. You cannot become happy. Therefore, he's saying, in hopes of becoming happy in this material world, the foolish conditioned soul performs fruitive activities that result only in suffering. He does activities to become happy, but he gets the opposite result. Instead of becoming happy, he suffers. This is the position of a conditioned soul. Nobody wants to suffer. But even though he is working hard to become happy, all he'll get in the end is suffering. When you do material activities, fruitive activities. But by rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from such false desires for happiness. So may my Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart. So everyone in this material world is here because we want to lord over the material nature. We want to be the masters. We want to enjoy. We want to become happy through fruitive activities. That's why all the souls are there in this material world. If we didn't have that, then we would not be here. We would be in the spiritual world. Then how to come out of this condition? Everyone is suffering in this way. Everyone is trying to become happy, but they're actually suffering. How to come out of this suffering? Devi Hiesha Gunamayi Mamamaya Duratyaya Mamevaye Prapadyante. Anyone who surrenders unto me, Maya Metam Tarantite. He can come out of the clutches of Maya. So by rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from such false desires for happiness. So this desire to become happy through fruitive activity, this is the influence of Maya. Because I think I'm this body, therefore I try to become happy by activities, material activities. And this is foolishness. What is this foolishness? This is illusion created by Maya on us. But when we render devotional service, Maya withdraws her influence on us. Therefore, we will become free from this desire to become happy in this world. It's a false desire. That's why it's called Maya. Maya means that which is not. There is no happiness here, but it seems like there is happiness, like a mirage, right? Like a desert mirage. It seems like there is water. And then a thirsty person or an animal is getting hope. Oh, there is water here. I'm so parched. Let me drink that water. And he's running and running and running. But the reality is there is no water. But the hope is always there. Oh, it's just a little bit more. It'll come now. It'll come now. And in that hope, he keeps running, running, running. And the poor thirsty animal, finally, there's no energy left in the body because that water is never going to come to him. No matter how far he will run, it's never going to come. Finally, he'll drop down dead. So that is the condition of, that's why foolishness. This is foolishness. Thinking that there is happiness in fruitive activity. The foolish conditioned soul is chasing after happiness. He wants to be happy. Every living entity wants to be happy, but he's chasing it through material activity and he's running and running and running. But because there is no happiness in this world, the fact is there is no happiness. He'll only get frustration. But when you render devotional service to the Supreme Lord, what happens is this hope is created by whom? That there is happiness. This is Maya's influence. Maya is making us feel that this will make you happy, this will make you happy, try this way, try that way. And we get this false hope and desire to become happy. But when you render devotional service, Maya's influence is removed. Maya will not hold, will not have her influence on you. That's what Satyavrat Maharaj is saying. And then we give up or we become free from this hope of becoming happy through fruitive activity. We will stop chasing after the mirage when we begin to render devotional service to the Lord. By rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from such false desires for happiness. May my Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart. And this desire to become happy in this world, it's not just from this life. It's there in the core of my heart. It's there since beginningless. I've been living in the material world since beginningless. That means you cannot trace out since when you are in this material world. Life after life after life after life. And I'm carrying all those desires from one body to another body. A big baggage. So therefore, this desire is there in the core of my heart, trying to become happy through fruitive activities. It's not within my power to cut that knot. So these desires are like knot, like one knot, and you tie another knot on top of that, and you tie another knot. Like that, so many knots. Who can open it? It has to be cut. Who will cut it? Devotional service. When we render devotional service to the Lord, then that knot gets cut. So may my Lord, my supreme spiritual master, right? May he cut that knot which is there in the core of my heart. What is this knot? This desire to become happy through fruitive activity. May my Lord cut this knot like this. Satyavrat Maharaj is praying. Okay, next, Mataji, purport.
Yes, ma'am. Purport. For material happiness, the conditioned soul involves himself in the fruitive activities, which actually put him into material distress. Because the conditioned soul does not know this, he is said to be in avidya or ignorance. Because of a false hope for happiness, the conditioned soul becomes involved in various plans for material activity. Here, Maharaj Satyavrata prays that the Lord sever his hard knot of false happiness and thus become his supreme spiritual master.
So we discussed that already. Thank you. Next. So Satyavrat Maharaj's prayers continue. Yat sevayagnir iva rudra rodanam puman vijahyan malamatmanastamaha bhajeta varnam nijamesha sovyayo bhuyat sa ishah paramo gurur guruhu. Next is Priyanka Mataji here? Not here. So Neelambari Mataji, is that you?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, can you read the translation?
Yeah, I am on my cell phone. So yes, I can read.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. One who wants to be free of material entanglement should take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give up the contamination of ignorance involving pious and impious activities. Thus one regain his original identity, just as a brick of gold, or silver shades all dirt and become purified when treated with fire. May that inexhaustible, right? Inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead become our spiritual master, for he is the original spiritual master of all other spiritual masters. Hare Krishna Mataji. Sorry, I am reading from my cell phone.
Yes. Thank you.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
One who wants to be free of material entanglement should take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is continuation of what was said in the previous verse, isn't it? That only when one renders devotional service does he come out of this foolishness of trying to become happy through fruitive activity. So this verse is saying one who wants to be free of material entanglement. Fruitive activity is going to bind us to this world. Yes, that's another thing. You are trying to become happy, and in order to become happy, you are engaging in fruitive activity. Of course, you don't become happy, you get suffering. But what else is happening? What is happening is every time you do some fruitive activity, you become entailed to suffer, to get a reaction for that activity. So in order to get the reaction, you have to take birth again in this world. That means each time you do fruitive activity, you are tying another knot, right? You are getting more and more bound to this material existence. So if one actually wants to become free from material entanglement, he should take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when you take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only are you going to become free from that desire to become happy through fruitive activity, but also whatever knots there are already, that is also going to become loosened and it's going to be opened. That means now you become free. You are not bound to this material existence anymore. So if anyone wants to become free from material entanglement, from material bondage, he should render devotional service to the Supreme Lord and give up the contamination of ignorance involving pious and impious activities. So when you talk about karma, this papa and punya is karma. It's not bhakti. There is no papa and punya and bhakti. Actually, there is no question of papa, right? A bhakta will never willingly do any papa, any sinful activity, but he is not attached to punya karma either. You know, this is auspicious, this is inauspicious, I will do pious activities. No, that is not a bhakta's mentality at all. Because even pious activities are binding us to this material world. They are not liberating. You want to give charity, you want to do some yagya, you want to do some tapasya. All this is pious activity. Pious activity will also bind you to this world. What will relieve you? Bhakti. Bhakti means what? Bhakti means you are not expecting anything for yourself from that service. You're doing it simply for the pleasure of Krishna. Anyabhilashita shunyam. You don't expect anything from that. And then also you won't do any jnana karma adhyan avritam, or you will be doing direct devotional service to Krishna 24/7. So you must give up this contamination of papa and punya, contamination of pious and impious activities also. If you actually want to become free from the bondage to this material world, render devotional service and also become free from the contamination of this is punya and this is papa. You simply do that activity because it pleases Krishna. Krishna is saying, I want this, and therefore you're doing it. Not because by doing this, what will I get? You understand? Punya karma. I will give charity to the poor because this will create good pious credits, and then my future will be bright. That is still material. That's the point. Of course, it's, yeah. When you talk about transcendence, then you don't distinguish that one is better than the other. They're both bad. That's the point. Srila Prabhupada says like wet stool and dry stool. Someone may say wet stool is nasty, dry stool is good. But actually it is stool after all. What do you mean by wet and dry? So similarly, karma, whether you do pious karma or impious karma, it is karma after all. Karma binds you to this world. So when you render devotional service to the Lord, you don't worry about karma. You should do only akarma. Akarma means everything for the pleasure of the Lord. Then there are no such activity. So bhakti is akarma. In bhakti, everything is offered for the pleasure of the Lord. It is done. You do direct devotional service first of all. And that also you do for the pleasure of Krishna only, for the satisfaction of Krishna, not for anything else. Such work is akarma. It's not karma. Akarma means it does not produce any reactions. So, one who wants to be free from material entanglement should take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give up the contamination of ignorance involving pious and impious activities. Thus, one regains his original identity, just as a block of gold or silver sheds all dirt and becomes purified when treated with fire. Yes. So, this is dirt. Whether karma, jnana, all this is dirt. That's there in our consciousness, right? But when you do bhakti, it's like fire. It's like fire. And this spirit soul, who's like gold or silver, when you put him in the fire, what happens? Whatever dirt is there, like karma, jnana, all that becomes separated and only pure gold comes out. Like that. When you render devotional service, you are completely, whatever contaminations are there in your consciousness, all those are removed. And what is now your actual original consciousness? Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. Now my only identity when I render devotional service and when as I'm rendering devotional service, I'm becoming purified by all other impressions. What are those impressions? Of karma, of jnana, all these things are impurities. And bhakti is like fire. And by doing this bhakti, all these impressions are gradually being removed. And the pure soul shines. What is the identity of the pure soul? He has only one identity. Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That's his only identity. I am a servant of the Supreme Lord. My existence is simply to serve the Supreme Lord. May the Lord be pleased to satisfy the Supreme Lord. That's all. This is like pure gold or pure silver. And whatever other impressions we have about punya, about papa, about jnana, and about, designations, all these are impurities. By doing bhakti, and bhakti does not need anything else. It's not like first I have to purify myself by some other process and then I will do bhakti. No, bhakti is completely self-sufficient. All you have to do is just take shelter of bhakti. And bhakti, you have Navada bhakti. In that also, you can just take any one. Especially recommended for this age by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is chant Hare Krishna. Even if you do just that one thing, chant Hare Krishna, that is sufficient to purify all your contaminations. But the more seriously you take shelter of bhakti, then the quicker the contamination, isn't it? You have low flame and you have a high flame. It cooks faster when it is on higher flame, isn't it? Very low flame, it will take longer time to cook. So like that. So that is why 16 rounds is the minimum. But Srila Prabhupada said 24 hours at every moment. We were hearing from His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj on Friday evening also, not Friday, Tuesday evening, and again Wednesday morning. Yesterday morning also he mentioned that. The way we were trained, Maharaj is saying, the way we were trained is even one single moment you should not be out of Krishna consciousness. That, see, Krishna is in front of us. We are looking at Krishna, and if I look a little bit here, then there is Maya. Everywhere else there is Maya. Krishna is in front. But if I get distracted from Krishna for a single moment, then there is Maya. That means we should be completely focused on Krishna. Not even one single moment we should go away from Krishna. Then that's Maya. This is called Ananya Bhakti, 24/7. So what is focusing on Krishna? Any one of the 9 forms, and there are further more 64 forms given by Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion. Do direct devotional service to Krishna 24/7. Endeavor for that as much as possible. So that's what here Satyavrat Maharaj is saying, that so bhakti is capable of cleaning everything on its own. If I'm simply doing bhakti, if I'm endeavoring to do like this bhakti, again, the more we endeavor, right? So now our condition is not that for one moment I'm looking. Maybe sometimes I look at Krishna. Most of the time I'm looking at Maya all the time, isn't it? So now we have to increase that time where we are at. So a Shuddha Bhakta, a pure devotee, he will be always focused on Krishna. For one moment also, even if he goes for one moment, he's like, no, I have to, like that. Shuddha Bhakta won't even go. If he's a pure devotee, for one moment also, he won't go away. That's Shuddha Bhakta. That's pure devotee. But for us, we are aspiring pure devotees. So we can act on the platform of pure devotional service. That means we are endeavoring constantly, endeavoring. So there is a chance that we go, but as soon as we go, we come back. This is called endeavoring to be pure devotees, aspiring to be pure devotees, right? And acting on the platform of pure devotional service. We are trying. So, but the mind, because we have these desires, the mind goes here, then you bring back. Mind goes there, you bring back. We should try that. The more we focus on Krishna, the more these impurities and impressions will be cleansed off. Because the more we are in the fire now. Focusing on Krishna means rendering devotional service. Bhakti. Bhakti is like fire. The more you are in fire, the more you will shine. All your impurities will come out. So that is being said here in this translation. Thus, one regains his original identity just as a block of gold or silver sheds all dirt and becomes purified when treated with fire. May that inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead become our spiritual master. Again, he is not limited, he is unlimited, he is inexhaustible. We can very confidently rely on him. He is not like a person in this world, right, who is limited. Sometimes we want to do good to others, but our capacity is limited. There's only so much we are able to do. So, how much can someone take shelter of us? Isn't it? But the Supreme Lord, He is the Supreme Spiritual Master. He can give shelter to unlimited number of people for unlimited time. He is inexhaustible. We can very securely, safely, confidently take shelter of the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Spiritual Master. He is the original spiritual master of all other spiritual masters. Also, as we discussed earlier, original spiritual master is the Supreme Lord Himself in the form of Balaram or Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And all other spiritual masters coming in disciplic succession, they are all representatives of the original spiritual master. Now let's continue reading the purport. So after Nilambari Mataji, Saujanya Mataji, can you read the first paragraph?
Sure, Mataji.
You're in mute, Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji. In human life, one is meant to undergo austerity to purify one's existence. Tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhayet. Because of contamination by the modes of material nature, one continues in the cycle of birth and death. Karanam
Guna Sangosya Sadasat Janma Yonishu Yoni Janmasu.
Karanam Guna Sangasya Sad Asat Yoni Janmashu. Therefore, the purpose of human life is to purify oneself of this contamination so that one can regain his spiritual form and not undergo the cycle of birth and death. The recommended process of decontamination is devotional service to the Lord. There are various processes for self-realization such as karma, gnana, and yoga, but none of them is equal to the process of devotional service. As gold and silver can be freed from all dirty contamination by being put into fire, but not merely by being washed, the living entity also can be awakened to his own identity by performing devotional service. Yet, sevaya, but not by karma, gnana, or yoga. Cultivation of speculative knowledge or practice of yogic gymnastics will not be helpful. Hare Krishna.
Making asanas and all that Prabhupada is calling it yogic gymnastics. So, of course, for health sometimes and for this and that, people may use. That's a different thing. But what is the purpose of yoga? The purpose of yoga is to connect with the Supreme. That's the whole yoga. The very word yoga means reconnecting, connecting with the Supreme. So, if your purpose of connecting with the Supreme, or if the purpose of your doing yoga is connecting with the Supreme, then that practice is not going to be fruitful. It's not going to be as effective as bhakti. There's no comparison, right? There's no comparison. So Prabhupada is saying, so again, there is gold and silver you want to purify. So if you try to wash it off, that's one type of purification. And the other thing is actually putting it in hot fire. Which one is more effective? Putting in hot fire removes all impurities, right? But if you just wash it with water, those impurities are nicely embedded inside, it's not coming out. So practicing karma, jnana and yoga for reconnecting with the Supreme. Why karma is said? Karma is the beginning stage of jnana actually. Actually for jnana and even before coming to bhakti also you have to do karma. Nishkama karma you have to do to enter into jnana. That is also karma. You still do karma, but you give up attachment to the fruit. That's called nishkama karma yoga. And of course, you have jnana yoga. Jnana yoga, it has its process. So cultivation of knowledge, right? That this is Brahman, this is not Brahman, like that. And then there is yoga. Yoga means Ashtanga yoga, asanas. So yama, niyama, pranayama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, like that. There's a procedure. But all of these, if the goal, because actually the goal is, see, originally our problem is we don't have that paratattva jnanam. Now we want that paratattva jnanam. For that you take either the path of karma, jnana, yoga or bhakti. Which one should I choose? If you choose karma, jnana and yoga, they are like simply washing with water. It's not going to be effective. If you want to realize paratattvam, then the best process is bhakti, because bhakti is like fire. It will remove all impurities. And once again, and also what is our problem here? We said we are bound to this material world by our karma, and this karma is accumulated since beginningless. There's no time immemorial, there's no beginning. For how many lifetimes we've been living like this? And what is carrying us from one body to another? The modes, right? The activities that we do, they are done in 3 different modes. So the way we are associating with these modes, that's the type of body we are getting. Bodies are also in different modes. So the activities that you do, if you do activities in goodness, you get a body in goodness. If you are associating with passion, that means you're doing activities in passion, then you'll get a body in passion. If you are doing activities in ignorance, means you're associating with ignorance, so you'll get a body in ignorance. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying, Karanam guna sangosya. Karanam, what is the cause? Guna sangosya. Guna sanga. Association with these gunas is the cause for getting sad asad. Sometimes good and sometimes bad. Or sat and asad bodies you get. Yoni janmasu. Because of associating with the modes, sometimes you are getting this body, sometimes that body, higher body, lower body. Then how to come out of this? Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyed. So this is Rishabdev's instruction to his sons. This human form of body is meant for undergoing austerity. If you want to progress in bhakti, if we are too comfortable, then we won't get that impetus to do bhakti. So we have to voluntarily accept austerity. Of course, not self-made austerities. What austerities are to be performed is also already given. So we don't have to imagine and come up with different types of austerities. Our austerity is rise early in the morning, right? Eat only Krishna Prasadam. Chant at least 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And further, live a simple life. Live a simple life. Don't expand material comforts like this. Human life is meant for austerity, because when you do such austerity, it is a favorable atmosphere to render devotional service. And it is only through devotional service that all your contaminations can be purified. Through jnana, yoga, karma, these processes, it's not effective at all. What did Srila Prabhupada say in the purport? There are various processes for self-realization. various processes such as karma, jnana, yoga, but none of them equal. None of them is equal to the process of bhakti. They are not equal. No comparison whatsoever. And or further, if you want to say, they are dependent on bhakti to give the result. They are not even independent. Whereas bhakti, independently, bhakti doesn't need the help of karma. Bhakti doesn't need the help of jnana or the help of yoga. Not that now for chanting I have to follow this, asana, I have to do pranayama, then only I can chant nicely. No need. No need. Initially, you may take that help. That's a different thing. That's called Sangasiddha Bhakti. You may take help of that. If it is helping you, particularly you, if it is helping you in that, fine. But your goal is to do bhakti. But that does not mean bhakti is dependent. You understand the difference? Because I am taking help of yoga for my chanting. I am taking help of karma because unless I work, I don't get money. Without money, how I will pay my bills? And unless I'm peaceful, how I can chant Hare Krishna? Therefore, I must do karma. I have a family. If I don't take care of them properly, they will be disturbed with me. I must do karma. Yes, you must do karma because you are not yet, you don't have that faith to do only bhakti yet. So for you, you must do. But that does not mean bhakti is dependent on karma. Unless one does karma, therefore, unless he does karma, he cannot do bhakti. Can we say that? No, we cannot say that. When one enters into Shuddha Bhakti, there are devotees, they don't need to do any karma because they get that type of Shraddha. Bhakti is completely capable of doing everything what karma does, what jnana does, what like Dhruva Maharaj, when he went into the forest, after he was instructed by Narad Muni, he simply depended on that. He was not thinking, oh, what will happen to me? How I will get my food in the forest? No, bhakti is sufficient. It will give you all the results of karma, all the results of jnana, yoga, everything will come if you do bhakti. Whereas karma, jnana, and yoga, what to speak of? And another thing, bhakti will give the results of karma, jnana, and bhakti will give its own results without depending on karma, jnana, yoga. And karma, jnana, yoga, they cannot even give their own result. Karma cannot give its own result unless it is favored by bhakti. And karma can only give karma's result. It cannot give the result of jnana, yoga, and bhakti. What the point is, bhakti is the queen. Bhakti is the queen. Or everyone else is a maid servant. So if you do bhakti, you don't have to do anything else. And bhakti is most effective. Like you have $100, then your need for $10, $5, everything is satisfied. If you have $100, that is bhakti. But if you have $5, and can your need of $100 be satisfied? No. So therefore, that's the point here in this first paragraph, that one should adopt the top. Yeah. So the last line. As gold and silver can be freed from all dirty contamination by being put into a fire, but not merely by being washed, the living entity can be awakened to his own identity by performing devotional service. Yes. So now we have forgotten our identity as a servant of the Lord. Therefore, we are suffering. Therefore, we are repeatedly taking birth, associating with gunas, right? Why Maya, in the first place, even was able to capture us? Originally, it begins with avidya. Avidya is not having that turning away from the Supreme Lord. So when you do bhakti, when you turn to the Supreme Lord, Maya has no control on us, isn't it? So the living entity can be awakened to his own identity by doing bhakti. Once again, he gets that knowledge. So then how Maya will act on him anymore? When there is no avidya, how Maya can act on him? That is only possible through bhakti. That avidya can be removed only by bhakti. It cannot be removed by any other process. It cannot be removed by any other process. That's the point. Cultivation of speculative knowledge or practice of yogic gymnastics will not be helpful. Next paragraph. So Saujanya Mataji read, Achyut Priya Mataji. Next. Oh, Priyanka Mataji is here. Sorry. Priyanka Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
The word Varnam refers to the luster of one's original identity. The original luster of gold or silver is brilliant. Similarly, the original luster of the living being, who is the part of the Satchit Anand Vigraha, is the luster of Anand or pleasure. Anandamayo Bhayasat. Every living entity has the right to become Anandamaya, joyful, because he is part of the Satchit Anand Vigraha, Krishna. Why should the living being be put into tribulation because of dirty contamination by the material modes of nature? The living entity should become purified and regain his Swarup, his original identity. This he can do only by devotional service. Therefore, one should adopt the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described here as Gurur Guruhu, the spiritual master of all other spiritual masters.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
So yeah. Varnam, right? We see Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishnam. So Varnam refers to your original identity. Like you say, you have Varna Ashrama, right? Varnas. You are either Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This is your Varna. This is your category, right? So what is our category? Originally, what is our Varna? Krishna has his Varna. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this verse, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam, that is referring to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belongs to the Varna of Krishna. Means he is in the category of Krishna. He is Krishna. That's what it means. Krishna Varnam. Tvisha Krishnam. Like that. So he belongs to the Varna of Krishna. So then what is our Varna? Our Varna is Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. So our original Varna is we are servants of the Supreme Lord. But now artificially we are trying to be the masters of the material nature. So how we can regain our original Varna, our original Swarupa? So Srila Prabhupada is saying the original luster of gold is it is brilliant. So 24 karat is 100% pure gold. 24 karat gold is called pure gold. But whatever jewelry we see in this world, nothing is made of 24 karat gold, because the pure gold, it cannot even hold its form because it is so pure. So they add some impurity. So when you have 22, so the less impurities in gold, the brighter the gold is. That's why you have 10 karat, 14 karat, 18 karat, 22 karat gold. So 22 karat means very less impurity, more gold is there. So that is bright, brilliant. Generally Indian gold, you'll see it is brilliant, 22 karat. I think that's the closest you can get to pure gold, because purest is 24, but you cannot make jewelry or anything with 24 karat gold. You can use it, in something. You take that much and you put, like when you're making DTs or something, you can add gold in that. But to make jewelry, it has to be 22. So similarly, the idea is the purer the gold, the less impurities in it, the brighter, the brilliant it is. Similarly, now we have so many impurities, so many impressions. Why we have these? Because of the influence of the modes. But what is our original position? Like 24 karat gold, 100% pure spirit soul. What is the impression? What is the samskara of that living entity? Original position. What is the constitutional position? He is 100% servant of the Supreme Lord. So that's the point here in the purport. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that the original luster of gold or silver is brilliant. Similarly, the original luster of the living being, who is actually a part of the Supreme Satchidananda Vigraha, he is his nature is to be Ananda, because Krishna is, he's Vibhu. Vibhu means big, and we are Anu, we are small. But the quality is the same. Like there's an ocean and there's one drop. If you see the proportion of the chemicals in the water, it will be the same. Big ocean or one drop of water, the proportion of chemicals will be the same. So similarly, not proportion, yeah, proportion, the percentage, yeah. But one is vast, quantity is more, here quantity is less. So similarly, the Lord is big, he's Vibhu, but he's also Satchidananda Vigraha, Ananda. He's always blissful. Being his parts and parcels, the living entity are also Satchid Ananda. Always being joyful is our constitutional position. Anandamayo Bhyasat. It is the right, right? They made some other slogan that freedom is the birthright of every living entity. That's not the point. The right of every living entity is to be joyful. To be joyful is the right of every living entity. But by artificial means, by artificial duties, we have actually covered, right? We are losing our right. Actually, the right of every living entity, Jivatma, is to be joyful. Why? Because by constitution, he is a part and parcel of the Supreme Joyful. So it is his right to be joyful. He's a part and parcel of Satchidananda Vigraha Krishna. Why should the living entity be put into tribulation because of dirty contamination by the modes? Why? So come out of that. The way is to once again begin rendering devotional service. When you render devotional service, you come to your original position of rendering devotional service. You don't need to do something else to come back to your original. Just do what you're supposed to do originally. You begin doing that, and that itself will remove all your contamination. One should adopt the instructions of the Supreme Lord, who is described here as so. How do we know what to do? He himself is coming and telling us. He is the Guru or Guruhu. He is the Guru of all Gurus. Original spiritual master. Last paragraph. Achutpriya Mataji, are you able to read, Mataji, or you're driving?
I can read Mataji.
Last paragraph, Mataji.
Even though we may not have the fortune to contact the Supreme Lord personally, the Lord's representative is as good as the Lord himself, because such a representative does not say anything unless it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore gives a definition of Guru. Vyare Vinka Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesha. The bona fide Guru is he who advises his disciples exactly in accordance with the principles spoken by Krishna. The bona fide Guru is he who has accepted Krishna as Guru. This is the Guru Parampara system. The original Guru is Vyasadeva because he is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein everything spoken relates to Krishna. Therefore, Guru Puja is known as Vyasa Puja. In the final analysis, the original Guru is Krishna. His disciple is Narada, whose disciple is Vyasa, and in this way we gradually come in touch with the Guru Parampara. One cannot become a Guru if he does not know what the personality of Godhead Krishna or his incarnation wants. The mission of the Guru is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to spread Krishna consciousness all around the world.
So nice. This whole paragraph is so wonderful. So, yeah. So here, Satyavrat Maharaj is saying, the Lord is the supreme Guru of all Gurus. Who is a Guru? Who is a Guru? What is the role of a Guru? Guru is he, Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. Guru is he who will speak and advise his disciples exactly in accordance with what Krishna has said. Whatever Krishna tells us to do, the Guru will tell exactly the same thing. That is a Guru. He is not concocting anything. So how do you know who's a bona fide Guru? That's why yesterday we were discussing, right? Evening Shastra Pramana. Shastra is the Pramana. Now you may get a question, how do I know if the Guru is teaching me exactly what Krishna is saying? Right? And someone else says, I am Krishna. How do you know he is Krishna or not? Our reference is Shastra. Srila Prabhupada said that yesterday in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the purport. Shastra is our proof. Shastra will tell us who is Krishna. Shastra will tell us who is Guru. And when you hear from Guru, that's why we have Sadhu, Guru, Shastra. All three will say the same thing. There won't be any discrepancy. So, Guru is he who tells us what Krishna is telling us to do. And in those lines, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amar Agya Hoya Taro Ei Desh, Jare Dekho Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh. So now, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order. Everyone should become a Guru. How I will become a Guru? First, I must hear what Krishna is asking us to do, and I will say the same thing to others. Then I am a Guru. But also, how I will know what Krishna is saying? Can I understand Shastras on my own? No. I must hear from somebody who's coming in parampara from Krishna, the Guru parampara coming from Krishna. And then I will hear Shastra from the Guru parampara and I will repeat the same Shastra. And in this way, I get connected in this parampara myself. Now, we are not able to connect with Krishna directly. The closest we can come to Krishna is by connecting with hearing. So just like Arjun heard from Krishna, I may not be able to hear what Krishna is telling me to do, but I can hear what Krishna is telling me to do by hearing from somebody who is close to Krishna. So the closest we can come to Krishna is through his pure devotees. Like yesterday, day before yesterday, we were hearing Holiness Chandamoli Maharaj. Someone who's very close to Krishna, you hear, and it is as good as coming close to Krishna. In fact, Krishna says it is better. It is better to hear from, better to serve his pure devotee than to serve him directly. Like that. So, once again, just this last paragraph. Even though we may not have the fortune to contact the spiritual Lord personally, Supreme Lord personally, the Lord's representative is as good as the Lord himself. That is our great fortune. Whenever we get this opportunity, we should take this opportunity. So, the Lord's representative is as good as the Lord himself. It's like meeting Krishna directly. Because such a representative does not say anything. And then, how do you know he's a bona fide representative or not? He will not say anything which is not said by the Supreme Lord. That's how you can tell if this person is bona fide or not. So this is the definition of Guru. Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. Wherever this is a Guru, he will only speak about Krishna and he will speak to anyone and everyone about Krishna. Yeah. He has accepted Krishna as his Guru through the Guru Parampara. Therefore, Krishna, so this prayer by Satyavrat Maharaj is, you are the Guru of all Gurus. So what are all these Gurus doing? They're simply repeating what Krishna said. So who is the original Guru? Krishna is the original Guru, isn't it? Is Krishna repeating someone else's words? No. What he is saying, that is Shastra, right? That is given in Shastras, Krishna's words. Bhagavad Gita is Shastra. And all the Gurus, they will only repeat what Krishna said. So therefore, Krishna is the original Guru. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying Vyasadeva is the original guru because he gave us Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam? It's just either words of Krishna or about Krishna. So Vyasadeva is also guru because he's speaking about Krishna. So therefore Krishna is the original guru, and then we have Vyasadeva. So therefore Guru Puja is synonymous to Vyas Puja because Vyasadeva is the original guru, and all gurus are representatives of Vyasadeva. Recently we celebrated Vyasa Purnima or Guru Purnima, disappearance day of Sanatan Goswami. That was the first day of Chaturmas. So in the final analysis, the original guru is Krishna, his disciple is Narada, whose disciple is Vyasa, and Vyasadev's disciple for us in Brahma Madhva Sampradaya is Madhvacharya, and in that line we have Madhavendra Puri, then Ishwara Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis, like that coming down. We have Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, then Baladev Vidyabhushan. And coming down in that line, we have Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and then all his disciples. This is the parampara, beginning with Krishna. That's why Prabhupada is saying that original guru is Krishna. This is the final analysis. And his disciple is Narada and the whole parampara. One cannot become guru if he does not know what the personality of Godhead Krishna or his incarnation wants. Guru's mission is Krishna's mission. Whatever is Krishna's mission, that is only Guru's mission. To spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So with that, now you decide. There are many gurus in the world. You can decide who is a bona fide guru based on this principle. So yeah, we can stop Srimad Bhagavatam reading here. Who read just now? Achit Priya Mataji read. So we will begin tomorrow with Achintadev Prabhu, Arunita and Aditi Lata Mataji. We'll read Bhagavad Gita and Leelamrita quickly. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, text 57. Please repeat. Chetasa sarva karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya machittah satatam bhava. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So what did we hear? Again, the same point is being said. Actually, if you see the central point of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitam, the central point is bhakti. Pure devotional service only is the central point. So to highlight that, then other things are explained to highlight bhakti. So just now we read in Srimad Bhagavatam also, Satyavrat Maharaj is saying, it is only by bhakti that all other impurities are removed. So here we read first, Krishna said, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati, Samah Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. That even after you realize Brahman, even after you are liberated, that's not the end. You have to go further, right? You have to realize Bhagavan. That's only possible by bhakti. So the next verse said that one can know me as I am only by bhakti. After saying Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, then Krishna is saying you can understand me, Bhagavan, through bhakti. So now the next verse is saying, 57 is saying, okay, I can actually quickly show you 56. Thus, engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee, under my protection, reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. Right? Because after Brahmabhuta, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, he will do bhakti. That bhakta, my pure devotee, By my grace, under my protection, ultimately he comes to my eternal abode, the Lord said in the previous verse. And now this verse is saying that in all activities, therefore, if you do bhakti, you are under my protection, and when you are under my protection, it's guaranteed you'll come back to my abode. So now Krishna is instructing, therefore, in all activities, just depend upon me. So the previous verse had said, my devotee may be engaged in all sorts of activities, but he will come to me by my protection. So now Krishna is saying, in all activities, simply depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. Purport, I'll just read the purport. When one acts in Krishna consciousness, he does not act as a master of the world. Just like a servant, one should act fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. A servant has no individual independence. He acts only on the order of the master. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit and loss. Yes? When you are an employee, you'll just do what the master, the employer tells you to do, and the employer gives you your payment. Whether there is profit or loss, that's the employer's headache. He has to give you your salary. So you will simply be concerned about the work that you do. You will not be so much affected by profit or loss. So our position is we are servant. The master is Krishna. So whatever profit or loss comes, we don't see that as ours. We are there as servants to work. That's all. Selflessly. Selflessly means without any, stealing or anything. This is all the master's property, and I should give my full 100%. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit or loss. It's not that when you make some profit, you become jubilant. When there is loss, you become sad. That means I'm thinking this is mine. I'm not in the mood of servant yet. Okay? He should be acting on behalf of the Supreme Master and be unaffected by profit and loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully. That's there. You have to do your duty faithfully. In terms of the order of the Master, whatever he is telling me to do, I must do. And profit or loss, victory or defeat, success or failure, that's not in my hand and it's not mine. The success or failure is not mine. My only thing that is within my capacity is carrying out the order of the master to the best of my capacity. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? Right? Like Prabhupada said in the Srimad Bhagavatam purport, if you're not hearing from Krishna, then how do we know how to act? If one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, Bhagavad Gita, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna who's coming in Parampara, then the result will be the same. Whether you act according to Krishna telling you personally or act according to Krishna speaking in Bhagavad Gita or act according to the Guru's instruction coming in Parampara, all will give the same result. The Sanskrit word mat paraha is very important in this verse. It indicates that one has no goal in life save and except acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. This is Ananya Bhakti. Okay. Mat paraha means you are convinced. This is Purna Shraddha. You are convinced that I don't have anything to do in this world, in this life, or any life in my existence. I don't have anything save and except service to Krishna. This is Mat paraha. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. Yeah, when you get an order of Krishna, you have to think of Krishna. If you're acting like, oh, this is given by Krishna, I have to do duty properly, then you will be Krishna conscious. This is perfect Krishna consciousness. One should, however, note that after doing something whimsically, not that I'll do whatever I like to do whimsically in whichever way I like to do, and then now you offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That's another level of bhakti, but that's not the highest. You understand? Prabhupada is saying one should, however, note that after doing something whimsically, not following Shastra, not following Guru. We do something, our own concoction, whimsically. And then we say, my Lord, I'm offering it to you. One should not do that. Doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That sort of duty is not in the devotional service of Krishna consciousness. One should act according to the order of Krishna. That's why Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhakti Utpatayaiva Kalpate. If you don't follow Shastra and you say I'm doing bhakti, that type of bhakti will only create utpat, disturbance in the society. So you should strictly follow what the Lord first hear. What is the Lord, how is the Lord asking us to serve? And then follow like that. This is a very important point. That order of Krishna comes through disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master's order should be taken as the prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts according to his direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed if you simply act according to the direction of the spiritual master. And the general instruction for all devotees is there in the books of Srila Prabhupada, and broadly we have chant 16 rounds, at least 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, follow the 4 regulative principles. This is broadly speaking. And then there are further general instructions also. If we read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita regularly, we will hear what are the instructions given by the spiritual master. If we mold our life according to that, then success is guaranteed, Srila Prabhupada is saying. Let's read Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita, just 2 minutes. Bhaktivedanta Swami had been dissatisfied with Hitsaran Sharma as a production supervisor. Although supposedly an expert in the trade, Hitsaran had caused delays, and sometimes he had advised Gautam Sharma without consulting Bhaktivedanta Swami. The work on volume 1 had slowed and even stopped when a job from a cash customer had come up. And Bhaktivedanta Swami had complained that it was Hitsaran's fault for not giving money to OK Press on time. For volume 2, Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to deal directly with OK Press and supervise the printing himself. He spoke to Gautam Sharma and offered a partial payment. Although the majority of the copies of volume 1 were still standing on their printing floor, Bhaktivedanta Swami wanted OK Press to begin volume 2. Gautam Sharma accepted the job. It was early in 1964 when volume 2 went to press, following the same steps as volume 1. But this time Bhaktivedanta Swami was more actively present, pushing. To avoid delays, he purchased the paper himself at Siddhomal and Sons paper merchants in the heart of the paper district. He would choose and order his paper and then arrange to transport it to OK Press. If the order was a large one, he would have it carried by cart. Smaller orders he would send by rickshaw or on the head of a bearer. In his preface on the second volume, Bhaktivedanta Swami expressed the apparent oddity of working in Delhi while living in Vrindavan. So we will continue that tomorrow. Thank you all, devotees. Hare Krishna. All of you have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. I'll see you.
Thank you, Mataji.